And these broad resources, with the money invested on the first CD, it looked nothing now, but at the moment as a student, it was a decision to do that. I could do another CD, and this was very well too. I started with Hermann Nitsch, a very good friend, which passed recently. And then the second was another CD by Ghedalia Tazartes, a more underground artist, connected especially to theater and voice. He was friend of Domaine Poétique, if you want to find, a very good friend of Michel Chon, musique concrète, avant-garde poetry, but he was underground in theater and had circulation about underground rock music distribution, always liked it very much, meaning that there was a very established contemporary artist, somebody more from the underground. Then I met Henri Chopin and Bernard Heidsieck. I think the two best sound poets of the post-war generation started to work with technology. Magnétophone, the tape player, a similar approach to musique concrète, but independent. Musique concrète had the state behind, le INA, le GRM, Groupe de Recherche Musicale, a bigger structure. The poet tried to connect to them, for example, François Dufresne, but they were always exploited by the musician. They never really shared. The musicians stayed independent. Henri Chopin made his own magazine. They self-produced their own records. And when I met the poet in Paris, they suggested, we would like to have LPs. CD, we don't have a lot of, we are not hot about it, like me. And, but CD was the standard production. If you have an electronic piece of 60 minutes, it's no sense to split it on 3 sides. So CD was a perfect media. But the poet suggested to have a LP size, the interaction, the physical idea to put it on a record player, it's kind of ritual, and you can relate the sound with the image. It's a very strong object, culture in the record LP that mistakenly maybe it's still going strong more and more today because it's something from prehistory. Technologically, the production is no sense nowadays. So many people don't even have record players, so they don't know what they're talking about. But I think culturally, with rock music, with the 60s revolution, and it was a very experimental period in humanity. Also artists, in fact record was using like a media, record as artwork. Germano Celan was the first to try to systematize this field with this on the first collection, and Gischren and after him. The artists always cared. The experimental musician having a record produced many times by a major, because there were not many independent producers, was something important for them. So they suggested, let's have a record LP instead of a CD. And I agreed, so this started. I was one of the very few labels, 96, 97, to produce vinyl. You go to a pressing plant with the master, and the next day you collect the pressed record. That's like a paradise. You don't have to think about the next production, because when you want to do a record, you go and get it. This was luckily for at least 3-4 years. Then with the market collapsing of the CD, this fake idea of original repressed, but it's vinyl, and everyone's very excited about it. Sony start to press. Big corporations start to press. Everybody wants to be a record producer, so many labels of independent. What is offered today in the market of very esoteric, ultra specialized in any kind of music, it's impressive. So the number of information and so on. But when I did it, it was not like that. So we arrived to a point that I think like 5 years ago was the worst. I had a pressing plant in Germany, the top quality, Rand, and they got screwed up by Italians. Not me, but some mafiosi guys. So they said to my record, the executive producer, in fact I do everything in my label, from the president to cleaning, to queuing at the post office. But I lived many years, I traveled a lot, I live around the world, and for 6-7 years I was in the Middle East. At that point I needed somebody coordinating my production. The strange thing is that I see record that I produced 6 months after they were released, because I was at the end of the war, and when I go back to Europe I meet the distributor, that's how it looked fine. And Rand informed my executive producer, you are Italian, so you pay in advance. And I said, well, that's not, living in Qatar, with the Qatari style of dealing with the people, I got very nervous about arrogance. So I immediately said, we don't want to talk to these people anymore. But to tell the difference, you go to the pressing plant, you have the record next day. We arrive to a point when you want to do a record, you send the master, you pay by making the request, and then eventually we'll produce the record in the next 8 months. So you don't know where you get. It means that you must always think of what will happen in the next 2 months, 6 months, while you don't have in your hand. It's a kind of work that I really hated, and everybody had to face this practical thing in our independent production field. Anyway, let's go back to I'm Emanuele Carcano. I have this label created in '96, and I got an invitation from Eliane and Eliane that I would like officially to thank very much for having me here today to present my label in Bucharest. And I was thinking, well, I didn't reply right away, but we don't have to tell that. And
we had a bit of an adventure to find Emanuele because I sent an email I found on Discogs, and I waited for a week, and then I started to get nervous, and then I started to Google search everything.
People that could be connected with me. So I go to Brussels, and the guy said, you must reply to the Romanians. And I said, yeah, I know, I'm a little busy this, but then I go back to Italy, my distributor, the Romanian wrote me, and you replied,
yes,
so everywhere I look, it's... So they chased me, and I say sorry already many times. Sorry for it, was really unfriendly. And but then we quickly established a connection, and in fact, when I finally read the email, it was very interesting what they proposed between this idea of independent production. I didn't do music studies, so it was out of enthusiasm, like a living process, becoming a producer of this kind of music. And I'm quite good in researching. And I apply my talent in the experimental music research. So in this, I think I did well. And yes, but in fact, when I get connected to that, it's also part of what came before creating Alga Marghen. And exactly what they proposing was a context of independent, out of the academic process of producing music, presenting music, working in a cultural network, but also about researching. I don't like the word collector, because a collector collects little ducks in plastic or anything, in fact anything. And it goes deeply into that until it becomes a manneristic, it's crazy for that thing. He's the biggest expert in the world, but it's a little sad in a way, because with record, you have that. You have a fascination for the object. Still, when I receive from my international contact a parcel, I open it like a little baby. You open the present at Christmas. It's so nice, and then you hear it, maybe it's disappointing. This process of receiving, it's an almost daily thing. So, I have a friend, a discaholic, he created the term. I'm not. A record a day keeps the doctor away, sorry for that. But it's a constant flow of research, and this thing that they were proposing, research with records, independent production, is something very close to me, in fact, what I've been developing, what I lived for before Alga Marghen. And I think this, I was thinking today also what started the process, and of course there are girls involved, that's always the case. And I have, as a teenager, I had a girlfriend in my school that was fascinated by strange sounds. I think that was the starting of it all. We had the Wham, Club Tropicana, we had the Spandau Ballet. Maybe you are young, you don't know this really shit. We had fantastic music like the Gees, Electric Light Orchestra, which I was ashamed of at a certain point. But she was listening to some, she was dark. Everybody was a moment where Milano was a lot of money going around, corruption, and if you are in that age, teenager, you will dress with an orange dress and orange shoes, a big belt with a cowboy like a dish, with a rodeo scene. You have short hairs but very long in the back. It was kind of a hippie thing, a hype thing to do that. But she was a more dark eyes, dark hair, different from the other. And she was listening to Bauhaus, The Cure. It was sounding very strange. What is this music? Joy Division. So I got curious by her, and with a reason. She was very pretty too. So, and her boyfriend was an older guy that has experimental music group. And I became friend with, well, she became my girlfriend, but I became friend of his previous boyfriend. And a strange thing, but we were very young, so experimenting. And through them, I discovered a whole independent scene, but really esoteric. There were maybe 10 people in all Milano that were interested by these independent, very experimental things. And so from The Cure, I go to Nursery Wound, to Einstürzen and Neubauten, maybe easy things to me today, but 15 years old in the mid-80s, this was a cultural shock. And I meet a guy, Andrea, that is still a very close friend of mine, very attentive, like antenna, captating in literature, in music, in experimental cinema, very curious, still inspiring me. On the opposite, now that I'm so much, 30 years I produce experimental music, he's boosting me with, have you heard that reggae guy that use electronic in that special way? Have you heard Discovery by Electric Light Orchestra? There are a couple of tracks that are breathtaking. So he gave me some kind of respiration out of, but at that moment he was involved with power electronics. He witnessed Gaz Nevada, which was the new wave in Italy. This was 81. I think I was 12. You don't speak about going to punk concert at that age in a bourgeois family, my family. And so he witnessed a lot of things, and he was part of the cassette network distribution. Power electronic was something in the late 70s, early 80s, uncompromising electronic music. They had a fascination from contemporary composers that I published afterwards. They heard The Wolfman by Robert Ashley, some Bird and Person Dining by Alvin Lucier. If you hear it now, you cannot believe these records were produced because they were so strong in a way. And they used the formal part of that, the sound, without too much understanding the historical context, and they tried to push it even farther. Pornography, Desade, mass murder, these were the themes. So you can think metaphysical things. And if you are a teenager, you are a little bit naive, so these things can be attractive too. So. But not for the mass murder, it's more for the uncompromising philosophy behind these things. And these were not artists, these were not composers, these were normal people with a specific, peculiar interest. That the police chased in a way. Some of them got into prison. It was also tough, the situation. Sometimes, in America especially, one of them made a magazine called Pure, and when the FBI got it, the guy got in trouble. Were photocopies, so a very innocent thing. Yeah, but he broke the law somehow. So just to say that this, I made a very long introduction, and we will play some music, otherwise it will be a marathon. This research of the extreme, this kind of metaphysical attraction, it's part of Alga Marghen, and this was in a way constructed naively as a teenager in a very young age. And this continuous information going to me, the unidirectional movement, and there is no internet. So you write letters in Japan, you wait for a reply, 3 weeks later, you write, a fax arrived much later. all these things, it's always researching. And you said you like a director. Today we were walking with me and Elena on the road, and then you try to find who is this friend, and maybe was a group, what the other did. I did it with record label. That record is incredible. Let's see the context. And then you discover many other. And at a certain point in the mid-90s, there was a need to have something going out. Again, a living process, not a strategic economic plan. We created a cultural association called Naples, like my cat, nobody knows. Cultural association, we were two, because alone it's not an association. So it was a way to produce music in the most simple, legal way in Italy. You don't have to worry about taxes, you have a lot of shortcuts. And the idea was to do books by improvised music, not in jazz, but in contemporary classic. We planned a book by Nuova Consonanza, we planned a book by Musica Elettronica Viva, we planned a book by AMM in England, and the Once Festival in the United States. None of these never happened, but we did 3 CDs with Naples, by Henri Chopin. I curated it, I became a very good friend with Henri. My friend did a CD by Edgardo Canton, Argentinian music concrete composer who was living in Paris. Samba Samba, it's much more hot than the scientist in the lab, like many music concrete composer in France. And together we did Vittorio Gemmetti, who was an electronic music composer in Italy, very close to Giuseppe Chiari, very close to the cinema. He made the music, maybe you know, Deserto Rosso by Antonioni has the music of Gemmetti, for example. And many of the electronic part, he was connected to Carmelo Bene with the theater. He did electronic music for Carmelo Bene. Carmelo Bene, the voice, the sound of the voice, the sonority, the audio, it's very important. So he collaborated with giants in different fields. This we did together. But while starting to produce this, because we had the same idea, we were not like you two. The business connection, legal, and then of course you have a big respiration about the poetical thing, and the one that is more, you have a very ability to share your. Me and my friend, we didn't. Everybody want to do the same thing and not the boring part. So when we have to separate, it was I like to call the label to give this. And now I like that. I like to give the idea of a plan, but it should be a meta plan, because I studied architecture, and making a plan, a map, the drawing of like a map of a floor, it was something that in a more abstract way I wanted to reproduce, even in a catalog number. So we should call the record Plana 1, Plana 2. And he said, no, I want to call the record Zuppa, soup. And I thought Zuppa was horrible. Why we should call the soup? But he was right, it was his idea. So we fight, but then it's soup or it's plana? Nobody decides. Okay, we speak, and the months pass like that. I remember we have to call Ennio Morricone to search into the RAI television archives for a special concert of Nuova Consonanza. He's in charge. And 1 month passed, 6 months passed. At a certain moment I said, I have to do my own label because I will get crazy. So that's how Alga Marghen started. I connect Hermann Nitsch, was an idea we had together. I steal the idea and I go to Nitsch because I have a good friend close to him. Andrea Cusumano, who was coordinating all this deal, was a personal friend, so I had the connection ready. And when the CD is out, I bring to my friend, this exists. He said, like, shit. You did, but instead, because he's a very cool guy, instead of fighting, he created his own label, Elica. And so the cultural association, in a way, is sleeping. Still, it's not finished, but we never do anything for a long time. And with Elica, he does 1 CD every 7 years. And with Alga Marghen, I very quickly, because one edition led to the other, again, not the editorial strategy, meeting with the artist, meeting with the composer. One composer, I remember I did Nitsch, Tazartes, and then two, because there was some money, I could produce two in the same time, Chopin and Bernadette Zieg, the best I could do with some poetry. I think because I go to meet him in Côte d'Azur, in his house in France, with the crazy guy from Verona, but this would be a very long story. And then I do Walter Marchetti and Philip Corner. It's already, what can you do best? But when Philip Corner goes to New York, he speaks with David Berman. There is this guy in Milano, he has a new label, and he comes back from New York with the master of everything Sonic Arts Union didn't publish. And I said, wow. And then I became friend with David Berman. Walter Marchetti writes to Bob Ashley, Emanuele is coming to New York, you want to meet him? When I meet him, he showed me a group of like, these people want to do a CD with me, I don't have time, because the wife had a record label, Lovely Music, he was a producer for John Cage, so what can you have the best? But you are a friend of Walter Marchetti, and we are anarchists, so I prepare a master for you tonight, in the night. And we listen, and E.B. Johnson entered the room and said, you know, I didn't even know this music existed myself. So you can see how lucky situation creates chance meeting, really. And because the territory was available, I accelerated and in my own way. So now, when they proposed what would you like to present here, I thought about, because not having a website, not having an archive, I said, what can I present? I have nothing ready. And then it came to my mind that when we, another girlfriend brought me to Paris, a fashion designer, Tiffen, and because I was in Paris and I had friends in Centrul Pompidou, I met with the new media department. Les Nouveaux Médias was the poor department of Beaubourg. They have no man, never. It was always gentiment. I mean, you have to work for free with them. And they invited me to a very fancy restaurant. I said, wow, they have some money. And so we have this nice dinner. And what would you do with the Oeuvres sonore? They have an archive, very specialized about experimental movie, really fantastic, because the director was into cinema. And she was friend with Pike, she was friend with all these artists that work with experimental video art. That was her specialty. So what she created with the new media was an incredible, but because it's media, it's not only cinema, it's also music. And with music, it grew up like pointillistic, inconsequent. You meet a friend, or you get something. You meet another. So it was very how you say, not organic. It was a little bit of the here and there. They had everything by John Giorno, because Giorno was very good friend with Bernadette Zieg, was frequently in Paris, and so somehow he, gentiment, he gave all his production, the Giorno Poetry System records to them. So they had all that. They had everything by Luc Ferrari, because all of a sudden they fell in love with Ferrari, they want to buy everything. But from one place to the other, void. And so they said, what would you do with the archive? In a fancy dinner, speaking informally. And I had some ideas, and at the end of the dinner they said, but why don't you help us and do a presentation? You look in the archive, we give carte blanche, meaning you can do whatever you want. And I accepted, because I was living there and I had this other friend in the department. I liked the director, Christine Van Asch. And so that's how we get to the first Oeuvres sonore. Maybe I go to the computer, I prepare an Oeuvres sonore. So it was over a period of a few years. Now I don't remember, and I don't have the glasses, I read it super small. But it's over a period from 2006 to 2013, so over 6-7 years. It was discontinuous because it was, when there was a space, there was a possibility, you act. And we didn't plan 6 meetings. We did the first, then the second, then the third, with kind of crescendo mood. And I coordinated it gentiment. I give some idea, but most of the time they gave the idea, so I was releasing something they wanted to do and somehow vehiculating it. They had a pedagogic intention, teaching, and in fact they want to valorize the acquisition they made. So they buy something, it becomes part of the collection, you present it to the public like teaching what you just got in your archive. And this pedagogic I didn't like, because having not studied and the idea of teaching, so, but you just inform the people. And to make it existing also as a publisher, because it was an ephemeral thing, you invite the artist, when it's done, bye-bye, it's finished. I imposed to them to create a small publication that is, ta-da, opa, this. In Beaubourg they call it la fanzine, because fanzine, they were very cool at the time, like a punk thing. And I produced the cover in color in Milano, which they paid. They take care of photocopying, like a real fanzine, it's a Xerox, photocopying the inside. And the photocopy comes no less than le service de la repro. So it's a photocopy shop, office of Centrul Pompidou, which is the most statalist, you cannot believe the people that are living and working in there, with the oldest machine. I think anywhere they will have, in Africa they have more modern tools. The fill with the ink, it's empty since 20 years. So if you have a very nice face of Brunil Ferrarin, that is a very beautiful woman, looking back like that, with the husband, too beautiful. After the Service de la Repro, it's like a monster with the face full of holes. So, but that was possible. Agrafé, so the...
You have it as PDF, no?
Yeah, I can show that. The metallic point is put by hand by the people working at Beaubourg, so it's a hand work. And I did everything, the mise en page, the layout, the contents, they just translated, everything is in French, so sorry, because French people are very much like that, everything should be in French, they don't like English. So, we gave it for free to the audience, to the public, le public. The public, when the audience is finished, they throw it away. So, and shit, we put the metallic point out, it was a lot of work. So I went under the chair and grabbed all the copy I could, if I remember to do it. And then the other thing is that I produced a record at Vic about that evening. Not specially what we played during that evening, but it's written in collaboration with someone. This I paid everything myself. I had no collaboration, but it testimony something we did together. In some of the copies, by chance, if I had some of these grabbed from under the chair, I include it in the record. It's not part of the edition, because normally this is it. If this is it, you are lucky. Okay. And I did for 6 times. 6 records that I will present here, then we can listen together if I stop talking. They were not planned to be all in a box, but I have some leftovers. 5 of them were published. 1 was missing because I never had time to do it and I keep forgetting, the Charlie Mormon one, this one. So I decided at a certain point, I have 30 copies of each of the record. I will print 1 record in 30 copies only, which costed a fortune, and only because I produced a massive anthology, they accepted, okay, let's produce for the guy a record in only 30 copies. Because it's not a leaf cut, it's really pressed, like a normal record. And all came together in a box. I also like the idea to present here an edition that is not available, because the moment I produced it, it was very quickly sold out. by my distributor. So, we will present today Oeuvres sonores. I wanted to take one record out of at the time. Let's see if we can do that. The box you saw. So I created the layout. The photo that I used, this one, it's color variation of the same image. Let's start with the first one. So I will stand every now and then to move this. In fact, the technician prepared a microphone that I should talk into. I will behave now. So, this image comes from Charlemagne Palestine archive. I'm not even sure it's a photo he took. When I was a little boy, I liked to experiment with photograph. Take the objective out, put it upside down, create a very narrow focus, moving the camera. And this is a real tape moving photograph with a time lapse that create this. I like the image, it belonged in a way. And so I use it for the first and for this as well, black and white, and then I use it as an image that I continuously, with color variation that I did with very simple Photoshop procedures. So, Oeuvres sonore number 1. That's, you know now how it happened. And I look in the archive and I found this inconsequent group of works. And let's open this. Emilian told me how to do. That's wonderful. As you many times do when you are new in a field, you tend to overdo. You do too much. So this was I decided that you should call the event with the date when it took place. So it's not 1, 2, or 3. This event is called December 15, 2008. Carte blanche à Emanuele Carcano, c'est moi. En présence de Charlemagne Palestine. Charlemagne Palestine, who lives in Brussels, was invited to be present. He had to do nothing, just to sit, to be with us. He came very gladly. He said, in a moment of difficult time for him, I think this was after the huge teddy bear that he did in Documenta Kassel, for which he got sponsorship from Rauschenberg, Andy Warhol. He gathered himself the money to do this enormous god teddy bear with 2 bodies and 3 heads that the rain and during the event was destroyed. But after that, it was like a break in his career and was a tough moment. And I think Christine Vanache, the director of Nuoida, if I remember well, commissioned him something. And he said to me, I like to do that because Christine saved my life. And so what can go wrong? We invited him, and I asked a couple of other friends, because Charlemagne was not enough, the big program was not enough. Then I asked a couple of friends, close friends in Paris, if they wanted to do a live concert within. So we had a big presentation, long presentation with movies, with audio, a concert. You can go. Voila, this is the program I conceived. Performance by Jacques Berocal, who broke the mic of Centrul Pompidou with a trumpet. It was too loud. It ended with another performance by Ghedalia Tazartes, and in the middle, all this. I could find so many things because from the John Giorno anthologies, poetry system, in fact, there are a collection of artists from John Cage to poets, Robert Ashley. I just took what was most exciting for me. And I included some electronic music by Charlemagne that I was going or I produced myself. I introduced movie by Charlemagne. There is even Coil, which was more 80s stuff, Karen 93, Nursing Home, this is another, but this neither his or nor ours, with the piece I especially like. I could tell many more stories, poor you, if I was not recorded by a camera, so I have to be very attentive too, so you get the polite, possible way. And what else can we say? Well, one thing, because I like him so much, I'm very good friend with Charlemagne Palestine. We know each other for 30 years. He's a very special character, a top artist, a giant, really. What he did in electronic music, nobody else did. What he did with the bells, being a carillonneur, a bell player in St. Thomas Cathedral in New York, which is just overlooking the Museum of Modern Art courtyard. He became the sonic presence of the Museum of Modern Art because he had to play for the church with the deal that when it was done, he could play himself what he wanted himself. And he started to experiment, let's say minimal, he would not like the word, approach to sound with the bells. And this dang, 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 this continuous sound was a continuous sound in that site, always. That's what Tony Conrad hears and goes to the church and said, who is playing? And they meet, and Charlemagne, thanks to Tony Conrad, get introduced to the New York avant-garde, camp movies, Jack Smith, all the Fluxus people. He started his path. And, but I see here John Cage's silence is nothing going on, so it's a silent thing. It's his most famous book. And when AIDS exploded, the sickness in the United States, of course, either homosexual, drug addicts, it's controversial themes, people are shy. The bigger problem in the beginning was that you don't tell, you don't go out, you don't expose yourself because you are shy, why you got this sickness. And so one of the first campaign that the United States the Doctor Association conceived is all these posters, silence equal death. If you don't speak, you die. Go out, communicate, we will be with you. And so this, and Silence is John Cage's most famous book. So at the time that the campaign goes out, Charlemagne calls John Cage in the middle of the night, Dring, and Cage is awakened. Who is calling? And Charlemagne goes, silence equal death, and hangs. And again, the day after, Dring, yes, silence equal death, and hangs. And this goes on, and it's incredible. And yeah, there are so many stories about Charlemagne. So, in honor, not everybody thought was John Cage. Now I can reveal the secret in Bucharest. And because Charlemagne was sitting there, I think he was the only one that got this silence. Why it's a silence Cage and silence equal death on the screen. So there was a kind of a joke. And so this was the first presentation. It went pretty well. The people at Nouveau Media, they were impressed by how many people came. It was packed. It was Cinéma 2, I think. Well, that's not important. Anyway, it was in the mezzanine, was the big screening room. The director of Nouveau Media was very happy. And how the people react to sound. They did a lot of screening with cinema, but they said the dialogue with the sound matter was somehow special for them. They never witnessed this kind of passionate and involvement. So they were very impressed, not by me, but how this event was developing. And I think because of that, even if there has been, and I cannot tell the details, a lot of sabotage, at the end of the evening I thought, okay, it's finished. I will never speak to the people again. The next morning, Christy Manash called me and said, I'm furious. Why? How is it possible? And I said, Christine, but I think the people that work with her, Etienne Sandrin, who was very close to Christian Marclay, and Florence Parot, my good friend in Nouveau Media, they speak with her, and so when they want to do another event, putting in value the Luc Ferrari collection, they call me again, and we managed to go on. And so what can we listen to from this first session? Allora, just a second. I will put the images on. We could talk about body music by Charlemagne, it will be too long. I just suggest we listen to some music, and we have more choices. Let's go with something gentle, and that's it. Piano music. I will speak later. We will be a little long, this first one, but the next number 2, 3, 4, up to 6, we make it. Otherwise, we stay here. And okay, it's a piano music by Charlemagne. Okay, this was a piano piece with dedicated to Simone Forti. I would like to play another piece by Charlemagne. This is a duo, in fact, a voice duo with Simone Forti. Charlemagne was sent to Los Angeles when after the Walt Disney, thanks to Walt Disney founding, they created the art school of the future, the CalArts, California Institute of the Arts. Alan Kaprow was the dean of the school, and the Charlemagne that at the time was in New York at NYU, New York University, as a faculty connected to electronic and multimedia, I think a class, was sent by the head of the electronic music studio, Morton Subotnick, to have a class in CalArts. And after a while, Simone Forti, who was an American-Italian origin singer and dancer, who had in common with Charlemagne the connection to La Monte-Young, but especially Simone was a student of Pandit Pranat, like La Monte-Young, like Charlemagne, who was a student of Pranat before everybody else. And with the idea to bring Pandit Pranat to Los Angeles, they start to meet and to experience in the electronic music studio, where they do a mix of electronic and dance. The theater of CalArts was still under construction. It was a cube of concrete, still unfinished, and very resonating without the chairs. And they used the theater that they called the temple as the rehearsal room. Everything was dark. They dimmed the light red, so it was only red light. They put an electronic drone with a real tape by Charlemagne. Simone was playing the molimo, which was an electric tube which she rotated in the air, creating overtones. And the body, they dance, they move in the space, like two animals, really. And this was not structural, conceptual body work that was fashionable at the time. This was really two human beings, male and female, interacting in the space in a very spontaneous way. And that was a new concept. They call these activities illuminations. And I have a piece that we should go out of here. They recorded at the Simone Place, Charlemagne and Simone. Simone Forti had popular songs that she heard in Tuscany. And she was singing that in a very long tone. That was her expression, which I found very beautiful. In this occasion, it's the only recording existing. Charlemagne joins her with his voice. So it's a duo voice. It's not too long, and I think it's very beautiful. They have a conversation in the beginning, which I kept, and this gives the idea of the very different atmosphere, West Coast and East Coast. New York, Charlemagne was coming from New York, confrontational city, where he would go back and create the strumming technique, a way to play two notes of the piano, and the piano become like a panzer, like a fighting tools, aggressing the audience. With the overtone, the string start to heat up, and they play for sympathy, because the piano becomes so hot that the string near to the one you continuously, in a percussive way, play, start to vibrate as well, and out of the body of the piano, like electronic drones come out, and this bounce in the room is very effective in a small place, because you really have the sound going everywhere. It's just a piano music. This is invented in New York. The electronic music New York that he does in New York, the New York drones, are very harsh, very tough. The electronic studies are very tough listening. When he gets to California, it's the sunshine. It's everything, it's peace and love. So he finds the Bosendorfer Imperial, he starts his arpeggiato piano playing, and meeting with Simone, he does this voice duo. And you hear from the voice when they conversate, it's like to innocent child. It's like you will hear. Oops.
Shall we do the Italian one together?
Yeah.
Good.
I listened to it yesterday at the house. The day before. Really sounded nice.
Yeah.
On the cassette. I'll play it for you again soon.
Very good. No.